Hello, everyone who's watching Black Mental Health Matters. Welcome to yet another episode of Black Mental Health Matters Saturday Twitter StreamYard show. And today I want to, talk about society's perception of mental health issues, and we want to understand how does society understand mental health. What roles does society have to play to ensure that we deal with different mental health issues around us? So today we're going to have caregivers tell. She's going to, take us through what she has been passing through as she took care of her patient, and we are going, to write down, to listen to her story, and then maybe we can also advise on what she can do, or the other people who are passing through the same situation as her. My name is Claire Nasasira, and I'll be your today's driver in this show. And I have guests here going to introduce themselves, and we shall get the show started. So, ladies first. I'll start with Flavia. Kindly introduce yourself, and we get started. Flavia, we can't hear you. We can't hear you. Flavia, are you there? Well, I think Flavia's dealing with the network. So, Rajab, I think you should go first. Introduce yourself, and then Paul comes next, and then Flavia will introduce herself as her network gets stable.
Well, thank you so much, our host, Madam Claire Nasasira. My name is Rajab Ssentongo, a mental health worker. I'm very much pleased to be part of this today's discussion about mental health. And indeed, I'm very positive that we are going to share, and I'm extremely positive that we are going to learn from each other. Thank you so much to you, Claire.
Thank you very much, Rajab, for the brief and exciting introduction. Paul, kindly introduce yourself, and Flavia is going to be coming back on, but Paul, take it up, and then Flavia can come on, and we get started.
Good evening to you, Claire, my co-presenters, and dear listeners. Once again, good evening. I'm by the names of Paul Onwe. They are very unique names. In simple terms, people call me Paul EO. I'm a international certified mental health professional. And because of my psychiatric training, mostly people call me a doctor. So briefly, I'm called Dr. Paul, and I'm happy to be here today to discuss this very topic. I hope to learn more from everyone that is going to be, discussing or sharing one or two things, even from the listeners. Thank you. Over to you, Claire.
Thank you so much, Paul, for also that wonderful introduction. So our guest has network issues, but she'll be coming on. Should be coming on a little bit later on. So let us get started. As regards to today's topic, we are looking at how society perceives mental health issues. Let me first give you a small scenario in my own community. People name tag mental health victims. They call them these local names, or Limulalu, such things. You're mad, you're crazy, all those kind of terms. So, you as professionals, what do you think needs to be done to ensure that this name tagging goes off from the community, so that we can respect people's illnesses the way we respect the malaria, the typhoid, and all the other physical illnesses? I will start with you, Rajab.
Well, thank you so much, our host, Claire. Of course, before we look at the community's perception about mental illness, mental problem, and so on and so forth, I think the most important thing is to know their knowledge about it. Because sometimes someone may comment about something depending on their knowledge. it may be very complex for you to comment about maybe anything unless you have a knowledge about it. So the community's perception depends on their knowledge about what they know about mental illness. And of course, to the lay person is, to the person in the community, most of our communities, we believe they share the same behavior, they share the same almost everything. So we are seeing that our community, it is perceiving mental illness in a different aspect. Of course, it does not so vary from what you have said that people tag individuals with mental problems with special names. That is very true and it's very common almost everywhere. But to me, that perception comes because of their knowledge about mental illness. So, whenever you see a community tagging an individual, then it's giving you an opportunity to find out how much are they knowledgeable about mental illness, or how much are they knowledgeable about a certain concept. So we are saying that people's perception about mental illness may be in the following ways. They attribute mental illness to some weird behavior or some unnatural behavior. For example, they may say that whoever has a mental problem, maybe they must have annoyed maybe their ancestors. And that is especially in our African culture, whereby we are much in touch with our spirits. So we believe that in case anything wrong happens, and we don't make those spirits to be fine, another thing has to do what has to happen. So you find that if there is someone in a community with a mental problem, this community will say that, oh, that person is a misfit in the community. Maybe their parents did something wrong. Maybe this particular person did something wrong. So because of that perception that they have about that person, even their support will not be there, because they are like, oh, this person, maybe he's serving his punishment. Maybe he's serving the punishments, maybe something wrong done by their parents. So it becomes complex for the community to support such an individual. Then, of course, another perception, we are happy that she has come. Another perception is that mental illness does not heal. That if an individual has ever been mentally ill, they will never get fine. They will always be mentally sick. They should never be trusted with anything. They should never be trusted, maybe with marriage, maybe with any responsibilities in the community. And even when they come to speak to the community, sometimes they turn them down because of the community's perception that, oh, this one has ever been a mental client, or is mentally ill, or in whichever they behave, they believe these people, they are not fine. Yes.
Thank you very much, Rajab. Before Paul comes on, let us allow Flavia to introduce herself, and then we can proceed. Flavia, can you introduce yourself, please?
Thank you so much, Claire, and sorry about that. It just got off when I was introducing myself. I'm Flavia Nassaka. I'm a mother of two, and I'm a daughter to a person having mental illness. I'm also a journalist. I've been doing journalism for I'm going to make 10 years next year.
Wow, that's good. That's good.
Yes, thank you so much, Claire.
Thank you very much, Flavia. By the way, Flavia was my senior somewhere, so I respect her work. She's a great one that she does. So Paul, coming on, kindly take up the question on society's perception about mental health. What do you think needs to be done?
Wow, Claire, thank you so much for this opportunity once again. And dear listeners, good evening once again. What do I think can be done? Well, like the previous presenter briefly analyzed and described the people's perception. In the past, there was a lot of stigma on people that have mental health problems. And there was also a lot of perceptions that has to do with Of course, there was no scientific explanations to what people go through. And not only that, people are perceived as people who are not fit in the society, people who are not able to function on their own. And not only that, they are looked at, just like you said in the beginning, that they are looked at people who are mad, if I may use that word, and that is exactly the term that they use. Even that was in the past. Then in the present, right now as we are talking, based on my experience as someone who rehabilitate and treats these guys, there is a lot of negative perceptions towards people that are struggling with mental health conditions. Number one is even beginning with the name tagging, like you put it before. And that is simply because they do not understand it. They do not actually understand a quarter of what mental health is all about, mental health condition. And that is why some of them bring their person to us, and some of them will say, no, let him be here for 1 year. Some of them can even, try to abandon them in the facility. But openly, with respect, we tell them this is not a prison. If if the person requires that kind of treatment, we shall recommend where that can be done, and in more appropriate way. So apparently, people look at their relatives or friends having mental health conditions as people who are not strong, people who are not strong enough. They are perceived as people who are cursed, people who are bewitched. There's a lot of things that happens in the society today. And even the people suffering the same mental health conditions look at themselves as people who are cursed, that they believe they are suffering generational curses. And from my experience and studies, and also managing these people, all these are myths. Myths, these are something or beliefs that are not true about these people. And going back to what the question you asked, what can be done? What can we do? What can we recommend that can be done in order for the stigma to reduce and the negative perceptions or the myths that people are holding concerning, people with the mental health conditions? One, I would say that people are supposed to be sensitized. Sensitization is lacking. That is number one thing that can be done for this, to improve or for us to curb the negative perceptions about mental health conditions. Another thing that I would highly recommend, or another thing that can be done, is to highly educate people. People are supposed to be educated, but people who are also mental health advocates are very few. I'm happy that many young youth are coming out today. The elderly people are also coming up today. I was happy when I had a lot of, today we had some visitors coming to ask how can they come in to sensitize people in partnership with the institutions like the institution that I represent, that is Care First Recovery Homes Uganda. It's a rehabilitation center. When they came in, I tried to give them some, information on what we do, what we are seeing, the problems, and they were like, they were overwhelmed because many people do not actually know that there are many other rehabilitation centers apart from Butabika. Yet Butabika has got a lot of course, stigma. People think everyone that enters there, even as the workers, people even think we are all mad. So that is the number two thing that I think can be done. Again, another thing that can be done for this to, improve is we need to talk to people. We need to talk to people. those who are struggling with the mental health conditions, and those who are taking care of them as well need to be guided properly by the professionals, by mental health, professionals and specialists, though they are very few, most especially in Africa. Another thing that can be done, which I think can help very, very well in managing these negative perceptions towards people with mental health conditions and their relatives, is that key stakeholders are supposed to be highly educated. Stakeholders are supposed to be taken through training. And who's supposed to train them? Mental health advocates. Someone who is also well trained can train these stakeholders, because most of them are in different offices, but they do not know what to actually do. They don't even know the right languages to use when they are addressing the community members. You go there and begin labeling people. So stakeholders are supposed to be properly trained by mental health professionals, and by doing so, they can as well be, when they are in their small meetings, or concerning policies and that are related to mental health, they can be able to say one or two things that can help, especially with the negative perceptions. Another thing which I think can be done is, now for us, the professionals, the advocates, the counselors, and all other people in the categories of mental health specialists or professionals, confidentiality of our clients supposed to be paramount. Because in most cases, for example, I have rehabilitated many artists in our facility. But again, if I go on talking about them to individuals or to people one by one, people get to know that they were once in a rehab, and people continue to also stigmatize them. And even they themselves, once they hear about that, they will also develop what we call self-stigma, fearing to appear before people. I'm sorry to say this. Many people with mental health conditions have also gotten their own personal challenges, which they have also developed from the way people look at them. Though they themselves, if they are also able to be empowered properly, they can be able to fight against this. Allow me to stop here. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Over to you, Claire.
Thank you very much, Paul, for those wonderful insights. They were great takings. Thank you very much. So now the floor is open to you, Flavia. Kindly take us through about your story, about the victim you're taking care of. What happened to her? How is she doing? How did society perceive her condition? How did they help her out? And why is she now? Kindly take us through.
Okay. Claire, I'll tell you, I'm the firstborn of my mother. My mother has had bipolar for long, but the diagnosis only happened recently. Diagnosis happened in 2020. That's when after covering health, even as a journalist, even as I would like to say that even as people who are professionals, who have jobs in the offices, your land, a lot of people don't know what mental illness entails and how to help people and how to seek help for it.
Yes,
So
true.
I remember my mom first developed a manic episode, an episode where you're high and you lose your sense of reality and you start imagining things. My mom first got a high when I was little. I was in P6. I remember very well, but I don't know what had happened to her. But I remember what our father did and our uncle. It wasn't something that they would talk about. Then they will think those are evil spirits that have come around. I was back in Fort Portal in the village, so my mom was taken away for some time. I don't recollect properly what happened, but that was the first interaction with her sickness for me. But then I couldn't make sense of it. So in senior four, she got another high. then still I was still in school, I was still small. But when in senior, for the first time she got sick, she was taken somewhere. I don't really know where she was taken. But in my senior four, I remember they took her to a sheikh. We are Muslims. They took her to a sheikh to pray for her because they know that those are evil spirits, you know. So my mom would get another attack in 2020. We lost a brother. My brother was gunned down, and this time my mom got a low. You don't want to see a low. A high is bad, but a low is terrible. I remember that. That's when I thought about it and said, I've interviewed all these mental health practitioners. Let me have my mom assessed. Then those stereotypes and beliefs, you know, I had come, you know, I had had those stories in conferences where they tell you that these people will show like this, they will come like this. I started reading about the condition. Then I called Dr. Basangwa. Dr. Basangwa is a former executive director at Butabika. She said, no, your mom is has bipolar, but you know, you bring her through. That's when they first diagnosed her. You can imagine the time, from P6. I'm now 33 years old. You can know the time lag between when she got the episode that I saw and now when the time for seeking care. So we go to Butabika, we start getting our treatment. That's when I start to realize how misunderstood this condition is, how people seek help in other areas where there is no help actually. There you get, you know, these psychiatric problems. It's your mental feeling. How do you feel? Because it's when she would go to the sheikh, they pray for her, she gets better. But after some time, but that wasn't treatment. Even the other time when she got the condition, I don't know what happened, but she got better for some time. So that's the kind of ways we have been living. My mom gets an episode and then gets better, but it takes time to get an episode. Finally, you said dealing with stigma and all that. We have had that first time. Even within my family, my nuclear family, my brothers, when I first said I would take my mom to Butabika, you know that feeling, that name Butabika has. Some of them, they said, no, our mom would get better. She's grieving, you know, she has just lost her son. You- mm, all kinds of stories. They were hesitant to take her to Butabika, and herself, she, yeah, you don't, as a person, it's hard for you to, because you've lost your mental wellness, it's hard for you to know that now I'm sick, I need care. It's your caregivers who can identify the condition and then, you know, they seek care for you. I took my mom to Butabika. I remember I stay in Imperere, if you know Imperere. I drove to Butabika, but I didn't get a word from my mom until they get at Butabika. And after convincing her that she will not see the doctor from the ward, because I'm a journalist, I got that privilege that we went and saw the director in his office. But people, the experts on the show will tell you how the conditions at Butabika. It's a 200 bed facility, but there are thousands of people there. Even in the compound, you see people. Then my mom asked me, do you really think I'm like these people? You see such questions, they are depressing. Even you, a caregiver, you can, that can take a mental toll on you. But because I am aware, I'm informed of what, you know, I took my time to read about it. I took my time to understand how these people behave. And that's why I decided to speak out. Because even other people will not speak out that my mom battles a mental illness. They see it as something that, you know, causes shame and all that. But me, I think by me speaking out, some other families learning from me. But yeah, the problem of stigma is real. And my mom keeps, whenever she gets an episode, she said, ah, but for you, you have since declared me mad, you know. She also has her own self stigma, but it's upon me. I try as much as possible to get her different options. For instance, when I saw that she was kind of not happy with Butabika, and then Dr. Basangwa has retired. They had created that rapport. I said, now what am I going to do with my mom? When we went to the facility, there was a younger practitioner, and they didn't get along. Old people, once you have an old person in front of you, you think they understand you better. So I had to look for a better for another place, not a better place, sorry, another place that could offer me that service. Now I seek care at Lakeside Hospital in Tebe. It's a private hospital. It's quite expensive, but it has really good care. She's now being taken care of by Professor Segane Fred. And with mental illness, it's beyond going to the hospital and getting an injection. It's beyond that. You have to create a relationship with your healthcare giver. So at any time we can call Dr. Professor Segana and tell him, now mom is like this. And herself, she has now learned to know that, no, these children have annoyed me, this issue has annoyed me. She calls the practitioner directly, and that has kind of helped me. But how many Ugandans would have the privilege of knowing that there is even a hospital called Lake Hospital in Entebbe, and there is this place? I'm told psychiatrists are only 52 for a country of how many? We are almost 50 million people. We are 47 something million. So those are the challenges that we face. As a caregiver, you can also get depressed yourself, because sometimes I get depressed. For instance, when you have to swallow medicines for a long time. My mom is on antidepressants. She has been on since that time when we were diagnosed. Sometimes she drops off, she drops back. You have to keep awareness has to continue. You keep talking, you keep counseling, it's a continuous thing. And you can never know that sometimes it's lifelong. You can't know that. But my mom started on a very high dose of antidepressants, but now she takes half a tab every day. And that's really an achievement. And we think at one point we may get off our medicine. You never know what happens. But that's really the journey. It's bumpy, I can say, Claire. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so much, Flavia, and thank you for coming out and sharing this story and talking to the public. Someone out there is going to be saved by what you're saying. By coming out, someone will also gain the confidence to come out and speak about a family member or anyone who's battling a mental health illness. We applaud you for that. And then before I get to my professionals, I would like to ask you one question. How helpful were your family members when your mother first got a breakdown back then in your P6? How helpful were your family members? What did they do that could help her? Besides taking her to the shake, what else did they do?
Claire, like I alluded to earlier, when my mother got her first episode that I saw that I can remember, I don't know if she had been getting episodes before that. When she got, it was an evening and somebody starts, shouting on top of her voice. My mom is a calm Muslim woman, very nice. Then she started, I had never seen her in that way. Then, you know, Obama, I don't know, people saying as if they are keeping some secret, they are sharing something very sensitive, which they didn't want us to know. I don't know what they were sharing. I don't know where they took her. I highly suspect later I started probing what could have happened. And I'm sure that maybe they could have taken her to a healer. I even wrote a chapter in a book, a new book. There is a book on the market where I talk about my mom's experience. So before, it was a secret, it was a family secret, really. They have to take her away from people who know her. You see, they have to take her away because it will bring shame. They will say these people have a mad person in the house, their mom is mad, she can't be trusted, like the professional was saying on the show. She can't be trusted. There is that picture has not yet been erased in Uganda. It's still very, very prevalent. But that's what I remember. It was a family secret. We didn't know much. She went for some. I remember that time it's our auntie, our paternal auntie, who was taking care of us as children. I'm the firstborn. My brother, they are really little. So she went away for some time and she came back when she was, she was okay. In senior 4, when she went to the sheikh, that's when I visited her. She spent some time at the sheikh in Chibuli here. I visited her, they would be reciting the Quran. So that was the therapy. The therapy was reciting the Quran. You can imagine. I've come to believe that healing is also in what you believe. If you believe you will heal, then you heal. But that, yeah, so that's the kind of thing that was taking place. And you asked about family members. Still up to now, when my mother is seeking care, some of them don't understand. Some of them can make comments that would really, yeah. So it's hard. It's a step by step journey, because now for me, I'm lucky. I have an auntie. My mommy's follower is a doctor, so we are always in that together. And now I have my brother to my side. But there is also a brother who still doesn't understand. Whenever she gets a problem or falls out of treatment, she says, "But you people, I told you not to start my mom on that medicine. That medicine hits the liver." Such misconceptions. Yes. You have to be really, I think I've become a fighter. You have to fight off people whom you think don't understand. There is a point I picked my dad, I picked my brothers, and took them to the psychiatrist so that the psychiatrist can explain to them. And Dr. Segane is a very fatherly man, nice man. And I think in their profession, they have to do that, to talk to caregivers too. So we have had a lot of sessions, not with my mother, but with the other family members, to kind of acquaint ourselves with what we are supposed to do, how we are supposed to behave, to remind her to take her medications, to understand her. So that's the life, that my everyday life, Claire. Yes.
All right. Thank you very much, Flavia. Your story is kind of emotional, listening to how family members are not supportive of their own mom, of their own parent, despite the challenges at hand. So we've listened in, and professionals are going to, give out some advice on what can be done to, to ensure that someone out there does not go through the experience your mom has gone through for the last 20 years. So coming to you, Rajab, you've listened to Flavia's story, the 20 years, you've
Yeah.
listened in how it has been, how the family members are shunning her, how, they have all these myths concerning her situation. What do you have to say in accordance to that?
Well, thank you so much, Claire. Flavia, I would truly like to thank you for that courage and confidence to come up and really share your innermost feelings. As you, of course, you have said, and of course the colleagues, it is always treated with the special care, that is to say mental illness in a community. So for you to come up and speak up that, okay, I have realized maybe mom could be having a problem that was actually beyond your ability of attention, beyond even your family, to go and consult a psychiatrist or wherever you went, that was really something very unique. So we thank you for that. And of course, we don't need to take aside the inputs that you have actually made to ensure that mom is doing well. Of course, you have talked about mom being fine sometimes, then the other time not being fine. Of course, as you have said very clearly, bipolar affective disorder is like, as the word goes by too, it's like poles, the other extreme end and also the other extreme end. So it would appear like magic that wherever they would take the mom, maybe to the traditional healing courts or to the sheikh, mom would come back good. Idea that would happen because maybe by the time they would take mom, she would be high. Then she spent there maybe 1, 2, 3 weeks. By the time she comes back, already she's in the low mood. So you may perceive that she has actually healed. And of course, with that perception from the community, I mean from the family, it would make them still insist to go to look for maybe a better professional person, or not a better, but to for conventional medicines, that's to the psychiatrist, to the psychotherapist, to wherever. But we thank you that you were able to carry out that. And of course, when we are managing mental disorders, I know my colleague will comment about that, but even as we talk, if you ask me that, Rajab, what really causes mental problem? I may give you more than one answer. I may give you birth, accident, I'll give you lots of answers, right together. So even in management, when we are managing, we don't actually know, in quotes, the exact best management for what? For mental disorders. It's not like malaria, whereby you go to the laboratory, they say, okay, there is this parasite, or you have maybe typhoid, then they give you medicine specifically for what? For typhoid. That's not like mental illness. So in management of mental illness, we use multiple therapy, or we use multiple treatment. That is to say, you have to go to the psychiatrist, you have to get to an occupational therapist, you have to involve the family, you have to involve the community. So it is a collaborative effect. Then if we see our person getting better, then we thank everyone who has participated, because initially we didn't know what was the exact cause, and at the same time we may not know the exact treatment for what? For the mental problem. So the mom or the family going to the sheikh, going to the traditional healer, ideally it is acceptable, but provided you are also you are also going to the medical facility, whereby you go and get medical treatment, then these ones come in as supplementary treatment. Of course, as we have also, of course, shared that our community, the biggest challenge it is knowledge. Actually, their knowledge about these problems. We still believe that these conditions they are caused by spirits. These conditions they are
Well, I think we've kind of lost Rajab.
maybe someone did something wrong.
Okay, he's back. Okay.
Oh, sorry,
Proceed,
someone was
please.
calling me.
Proceed.
Yeah, sorry. I was saying that our current perception is that we perceive that these conditions they are caused by something wrong, either done by an individual as a client, or maybe they are biological generation. That is to say, their grandparent, maybe their mother, so on and so forth. But ideally, with mental problem, it is actually not caused by those, as we have said. So our community needs to be much sensitized. I'm very grateful if I have interactions with Claire, as hosting us, and of course giving a very big platform to people to listen, such that maybe they can do more consultation concerning this. Because for some years back, maybe 10 years, maybe 20 years back, such platforms were not there. You'll even find that within the community or a hospital, to find just a mental health attendant, it's rare. So what we have to do, let us utilize all these platforms to ensure that we do what? We inform the community, right together. If we maybe you could find that, okay, for you are somehow knowledgeable about something, but still you have that perception that maybe the problem might have been caused by the demons. How about someone who is deep in the community, in the village? How can they perceive that? So what we are looking at, let us ensure that we involve much the community, and also to those that have come to stand to speak about mental problem, as our sister said, Flavia, let us actually not demoralize them. Let us maybe support them, of course, in our abilities, right together. Supporting may not mean financial support, even just a word that thank you for attending to your mom. That is a support. Because as she was narrating to us, I realized that, of course, she was becoming very emotional. Not that because she was angry about the community, but of course, she was also tortured. So we as professional people, we need to identify these individuals, we need to identify these families, and we give them professional support such that, one, they can at least give the best attention to their loved ones. They can at least, if they are the individuals, they can actually seek appropriately medical attention. Of course, for the stigma, it is actually very high. You are lucky that for you are living in Kampala, unlike we who can give from the village. But for you who is in Kampala, the stigma, at least people in towns, they are somehow knowledgeable. But of course, the fact remains, people have stigma, or they attribute mental problems with something. You may find that it becomes hard for Flavia to have a man, or for a sister to Flavia to have a man, because the community knows that their mom got a mental problem, right together. So it becomes very complex. even for you to speak out, that, okay, maybe my mom has a mental problem. You also look at the individual consequences that will come to you. If I speak out, well, what will my friends say? If I speak out, what will my coworkers say? Sorry about that, my dear. So you find that because of the fear of the stigma, we tend to keep ourselves quiet. But the more we keep quiet, the more the problem becomes bigger. As she has narrated, the problem started when mom was in primary. I mean, when Flavia was in primary, but they got to get the best attention after almost 20 years. If they had spoken out a little earlier, maybe even interventions would have been made earlier. But because they hid it, because they were so much conscious about the consequences, they had to keep it until the time the problem almost became unmanageable to them. So our point is that let us have that neutral perception. Let us have to appreciate that having a mental problem is like you having diabetes. It's like you having, let me talk about, it's like you having maybe cancer. Sometimes these things, we don't call them for ourselves, right, together. No one would wish to that, okay, let me have a bipolar affective disorder, or let me have HIV/AIDS, right, together. We find ourselves having these problems. But then, after having these problems, what should we do? Should we isolate ourselves from the community? Automatically, no, because we belong to the what? We belong to the community. But then, after belonging to the community, what should we do? Let us always try to follow the appropriate routes to ensure that we get the best appropriate attention. My last point on that, we as caretakers of someone with a mental problem, let us not overburden ourselves that, okay, my relative has a mental problem. What will Rajab say about me? What will the other say about me? My dear, in that way, you may also find out that you also are tending to have some small signs of mental problems. That is, say, you may even start lacking sleep. You may even start withdrawing from your social circle because you are fearing it together. So, if you overhold that burden on you, chances are high that the problem in quotes may become contagious to you because you are holding much. What you have to appreciate that someone who is having a mental problem, especially bipolar affective disorder, especially schizophrenia, these people, when they reach an extent, they are not living into reality. They don't know that they don't have the problem. We get it. So you as a normal person who knows that my mom, my uncle, my dad has a mental problem, you'll be suffering much. You may even find that you even need a heavier dose than the other one who is ideally what? A client. So as we have these people, let us not take it as a self-blame that we having someone in our family with a mental problem. It is a blame to me. Maybe Rajab didn't do something wrong. Maybe I should have done that. No, it just came at the right time. So you should also handle it at that very time, but not carrying the bigger burden to yourself. Otherwise, you may also lose your mind.
All right.
So,
Thank you. Thank you
yeah.
very much, Rajab, for that insightful input. Paul, I don't know what you have to add as regards to Flavia's mother's situation. You've had a story. You've had the stigma that has, come up because of her situation. You've heard how the family treats her and all that has come about. What do you have to say?
Thank you. Thank you, Claire. Rajab, thank you so much for that wonderful input. And a very big thanks goes to Flavia. Flavia, you are a great fighter. And I want to appreciate you in a very special way. You are a very kind caregiver. You really loved your mother and you really offered your best, and you are still giving the best that you can to the best of your knowledge. I want to appreciate you, and I really pray that people who are listening to this conversation can pick a leaf from what you've shared, can understand that mental health conditions can be properly treated and managed, though some of them are not curable, but they can be properly treated and managed, most especially with this condition that you've raised. I know the severity really intensified on your mother simply because of It could have been maybe because of lack of knowledge those days, or maybe fear. Maybe you even had no one to talk to. Maybe you never even, fully understood what she was going through. You thought maybe it was just something that can also be, outgrown, like some other people interpret mental health conditions today. So I really thank you so much, and especially for taking initiative to go to Professor Musisi. He's one of my mentors. I really, when you talk about him, I know that the place you took him, and we actually near him as well. Where you took him was is a very professional place. I'm not saying that Butabika is not, but Professor Musisi does the right thing, and I believe your mom will be well. Yes, the only thing that I will just add to what Rajab had rightly pointed out to is just to hold it there. I was happy when I heard you saying that he included family therapists. Yes, it is part of our training, because we call this a family disease, a family condition. Actually, family members suffers more than the person themselves. Family members suffer psychologically more. They suffer socially more. They suffer in all dynamics of life more than the individual that is undergoing the condition themselves. So that is why we also incorporate the family therapies. Family members need to be explained what the patient is going through, because they do not understand it. And lack of information, lack of awareness about, lack of knowledge about what the person is going through actually makes it worse, because you may be throwing some words that will make this person relapse emotionally. And once they have relapsed emotionally, they will end up even becoming worse. Bipolar is a condition that needs to be managed with care. And that is why I have liked that aspect of family sessions, because the children need to understand, the significant others need to understand what mom is going through. She did not cause it herself. Most of these conditions are genetically predisposed. If she knew that what she was supposed to do not to undergo that, she would have done it, but she wasn't aware. So she's not to be blamed. Family members are not to be blamed. Her parents are not to be blamed, because they never knew. Those days in the past, not now that actually people go for what do they call it? Premarital counseling, to understand, to take and in premarital counseling, the professional will help you to take a history and explain to you that when you come together and you produce a child, this child may likely to experience A, B, C, D. So it is also one of the things that I want to emphasize on. Please do not blame yourself. Do not blame mom. Encourage family members the same way. Mom did not cause this. Mom could not handle it on her own. And that's why I think with the power of the higher power, your family members, especially you, that was used to seek professional help. And what I can add to the dear listeners here is that whenever you see something that is not, that is different from the person's behavior, seek early professional help. Consult people. Do not die. Speak out. Speak up. You are not alone. There are many thousands, millions of people who are actually experiencing the same thing. Once you've stopped sleeping well, you've started becoming talkative. Talk to people. And that is what I'm also adding to that. Talk to people around you. People run to spiritual leaders today. I normally tell family members that they should limit the rate at which they run to spiritual leaders when they get issues. They should run to professionals, people who are trained to handle that. Many pastors today Many spiritual leaders today are becoming their own mental health practitioners, and they end up confusing people and making it worse. I liked one thing that Rajab pointed out, that we use different approaches, the multimodal approaches. And the inside there, we have the pharmacological approach. I know God, as you understand him, because I understand we have Muslims here and the Christians. God, as you understand him, helps those that help themselves. There are certain things that you have to, first of all, go swallow medicine before the Allah comes in to help you, before God comes in to help you. But some people believe that no, this is just, I was bewitched, I was cast. It is a spiritual attack. Let's pray. The person will get better. Just like Rajab pointed out when he was presenting, that your mother, whenever she's taken to Sheikh, she would get better, because this comes in different forms at different stages. She would have relaxed. Simple stress can trigger this. And in that place, she was relaxed and all that. And people around her would think she's now okay. Yet she wasn't. It is not a treatment at all. Though, yes, we believe God heals, but God helps those that help themselves. So limiting how we rush to people who are not professionals, people who don't even have knowledge of what we are going through, can as well help in this. And once again, Flavia, thank you so much for being a great fighter. Continue fighting. You are not alone. There are many who are into this, and your support can, prolong the life of mom, and the knowledge of this to family members as well can as well support her, and she will live longer. I see the hope that you have. I pray that the hope also increase and the faith increases, and those who are listening will understand that there is hope. There is hope. If you are struggling with any kind of mental health conditions, do not lose hope. Believe and consult the right professionals that can be able to incorporate the medical part of it and also psychotherapies. Thank you. Let me stop here for now.
Thank you very much, Paul, for that wonderful insight. It was very, very, very good. One of our viewers, one of Kenya, Idrisa Chimbugwe, has said that I have a cousin sister who I assisted to come to work here in Qatar, but I wasn't told about her disorder from her parents, which I unfortunately found out from her bosses who I had connected her with. So she was repatriated back to Uganda and was taken to Tavika, and she's currently on medication and doing fine. Thank you very much, Mr. Chimbugwe, for that input. We thank you a lot. And he also says he gives a funny comment, which I want us to comment on. Chimbugwe again says that as an Afrocentric man, I think also undermining our traditional spirituality has led a lot of people suffering from mental illnesses. What do you have to say about this? We'll start with you, Rajab. What do you think this spirituality has to do with our mental health?
Thank you so much. We are really grateful when you hear that people are following up on this platform. Chimugwe, thank you. I'm really impressed with my colleagues' input. Before I comment on Chimugwe's input, let me first also further strengthen this point of God helps those that help themselves. That is very true. When you go back to the creation, God created man to take care of the whole universe. And in taking care, man ideally should be healthy such that he does pray to God or worship God in the best way. So God gave us knowledge. God gave us the brain to utilize it to the maximum. So, in a way of the knowledge or the brain that God gave us, it is to you to go to the health profession, whom God gave extra knowledge in the medicine. You get the medicine and you take it. And of course, that is not only enough. After you taking very well your medicine, then you have to go to church, to go to the mosque, to go and thank Him that, oh God, I have actually taken the medicine. Now I feel better. Give me more health, give me more life. So that is God helping those that help themselves. We are not saying that, okay, you don't go to this, you don't, but we are saying that we use all the platforms to ensure that you get the best attention. He said, back to Chimbugwe, he said that is it Afro-African? I wish I could get that point back.
He's an Afrocentric man,
Afrocentric.
yes, and he thinks undermining our traditional spirituality. Yes, exactly.
Of course, it is very unfortunate in quotes that in the medical field, when we are treating, we don't say that this one has come with the judges, so let's take him to the shrine. No, for us, you come with all your features, whether you are making noise, whether you are eating snake, whether you are drinking paraffin, we shall treat you medically. So after we giving us your after we giving us the medical attention, of course we give you all your rates of going to do what to go and get the assistance from the judges wherever. However, you may find that those that said that maybe you are not respecting our judges, that's why you are getting those problems. Yes, it could be true, but as Paul said it clearly, that these conditions, they are always genetic. You will find that in the third generation or the fourth past generation, our great judge or great parent had a mental illness. So as we children that are coming out of him, we are having that gene of having a mental problem. So you may find that after maybe like 100 years, we are presenting the same way as our great parent presented. So that's how it correlates. However, there is no clear cut that, okay, these things could be caused by judges. Right together, idea medically, it may not be there clear that these things are caused by judges. However, as I've explained that these things are genetically transmitted, you find that this person is predisposed or is prone to having a problem because their grandparents had the same problem. We are not ruling out or undermining any culture because we respect each and everyone's view. But what we are giving according to the text, according to the literature, according to research. Of course, we also believers. We also go to the mosque. We also go to church. And when they pray for someone, they say that demons go, demons go. We also say amen. But when we are in the hospital, we don't call demons and we don't chase demons. We give professional management. However, we still give it a chance to go and get extra assistance from wherever you wish. After all, the treatment may not only be medical. That's my input. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rajab. Flavia, I'm going to get back to you. You say that looking at your mother's condition sometimes, and also how the family is treating her, you feel sometimes you get depressed yourself. You feel like it's too much for you to carry on your mind all the time. So what are you doing about it to ensure that you do not fall in the same area where your mother has fallen? Because if her condition is depressing you, you also have your own battles to deal with besides her condition. How do you deal with it?
Okay, thank you so much, Claire, and thank you, the professionals. I'm really humbled and I've learned a lot from what you have said. What I would say is that awareness is therapy itself. Once you are aware and you know that these things will come up, I've really read a lot that I've had to even do a chapter in a book. In that chapter of the book, I speak to a psychiatrist also. This psychiatrist is called Professor Emilio Vuga. He's retired now, but he was at Gulu University. He was heading that mental department of Gulu University. But I think awareness is the biggest is the biggest therapy that can keep you moving, because I know all these things are bound to happen. You have to keep yourself aware. You have to know that now this might be sliding me into something that I can't do. Speaking as much as possible, making your mother as comfortable as possible, making her trust your decisions is what you need. Really, you have to be blind to these other, because you have a central thing, a central goal that you want to achieve. So you'd let these other things that come up to be really background noise, as people say these days. That's what I can say. I don't take any medicine for it. I don't withdraw. I don't do what. I know I have to keep fighting and fight and fight and fight. And the therapy is awareness, making myself know what is likely to come, what is bound to come, and how to deal with it.
Okay.
And making other people understand why things are happening the way they are understand that they are happening. People understand at different levels. You can understand today, another person will understand tomorrow, another will understand next year. So you have to be really accommodative of people's
Yeah.
views, but when you're focusing on the goal.
Okay,
Yes.
all right. Thank you so much, Flavia, for that. We believe that our awareness is also touching your soul and your healing very well to take care of your mom. So getting to you, Paul. As Flavia gave talked about her mom previously. She talked of us having only about 50 psychiatrists in the entire nation with over 47 million people. So, and there is a time I was talking to some psychiatric nurse, and apparently she says that so many people are shunning, taking up, these mental health
Yeah.
courses at universities because they think people are going to deem them crazy when they're done with school. Even at school. So, what do you have to say about this? The shunning of these courses with this myth of you're going to be mad if you do a psychiatry course. Paul, what do you have to say about that? I don't know what prompted you to do that. You can maybe tell us.
Well, thank you so much. I started smiling when you was asking me that question, because people do tell me this every day. And but I want to tell the public and the listeners that is an old information. People who are running Am I Mad today have been there for years. There are many mental health practitioners today who are not mad. It only gets to you when you don't take care of yourselves. You also have to take care of your own mental health. Otherwise, you are bound to also crash. Mental health problems are not written on the face. Even me who is talking, if I fail to take care of myself, I can also fall sick tomorrow of a mental health problem. You get it? So if you go to school, many people have consulted me, and I have motivated many of them, and they have engaged, they have taken the course, because we really need more people in the field. We really need more people who can take care of people, who can specialize in mental health, because a lot of people are there that requires their help. So it is not true, Claire and dear listeners, that when you become a mental health practitioner, you will also, when you manage people who are having mental health problem, you are also going to behave the same way. No, that people can even tell you, when you sit in a barbing salon for so long, you are bound to also get a haircut. They make a lot of statements, and you can't blame them. They are holding also onto what they were told. So that such people, or people who are holding such perception, need to let go of that and incorporate new information. The only thing that I will recommend is that people who are dealing with mental health conditions. Oh God, my phone is switched off. Oh.
So I think Paul has gotten issues. Can Rajab add on what regarding the question I asked about the myth of you having psychological issues if you do
Yeah.
a course in mental health?
Well, thank you so much. It is very impressive. I started by questioning him what induced him to do mental health, whichever he did. Maybe he gave us his perception. I mean, he gave us his direction. But to me, maybe just in brief, mine was a little unique. As I was in senior six, I did PCB. I think, yeah, I did PCB. I didn't want to do medicine. I didn't. I wanted to do education. That was my dream course. I wanted to be a teacher. That was my profession because that I dreamed to be, I wanted to be. But you see these issues of performance and being a little more better than maybe your colleagues at home and so on and so forth. At home, for them, they were seeing a medical doctor. Yet for me, inside me, I was like, these people, they should get to know that I'm supposed to be a teacher. So when that time came for filling in the job form and so on and so forth, my first choice, my career, I put education. Then I put other courses, so on and so forth. And lastly, I put mental health. By God's mercy, on the negative side, they actually gave me mental health. So that's how I got into mental health as a profession. But then I found it very, very, very good because even after me doing my first semester at the college, I got to perceive that there are lots of myths concerning mental health. Because even by the time I finished senior six, in quotes, I would call someone with a mental problem mad. I would also perceive that someone with a mental problem, that mental illness was contagious. I think you maybe also in your community you will hear these things of epilepsy, whereby when someone has epilepsy, then maybe you support them, maybe you touch into their throat, maybe they touch you when they are having fits, you would also become mad. I assure I don't. Do you get me? Do you get me?
You're back now. Please proceed. Please proceed. Please proceed. You're back now. Yes, we can hear you. Yes, please proceed.
Is it fine? Is it fine, Flavia? Is it fine? Thank you. I was saying that after going to school, I realized that whichever what we are perceiving in the community, it was truly different from reality. And indeed, I appreciated joining a mental health institution because now at least I can boldly stand and speak, moreover with uninformed information about something. So people, of course, are shining away from mental health, especially those ones that don't know about it because of the fear. Indeed, there is that fear that if you are close to those people, you are also more likely to become one of them. But as our colleague said, ideally, you cannot become one unless, of course, you are predisposed. Because as we said, these things are genetical. If your parents have the problem, or if any of the family members had, it means that you're also at a risk altogether. But it does not mean that you'll have the problem. It just puts you at a risk. It's like having someone in the family with diabetes or with the high blood pressure. You may not get sick, but you are at high chances or you are at a certain percentage prone to having the problem. So those that are shunning away from maybe doing mental health related courses, it would have actually been their golden opportunity to realize their ability. And if maybe they were prone, they would get to know that, okay, since now I'm prone, this is how I should do, this is how I should behave, this is how I should do, so that I protect myself against having a mental problem. So my stand is we encourage people to go and do these courses, one, to benefit themselves and also to serve their community. As our sister said, she's serving her mother, she's serving her community, even when she's not a professional from that field. Now, what if she had gone and studied maybe medicine and maybe she's a psychiatrist? How best would she be serving? So I encourage people, let us not shy away from this let's not run away from these courses. They are good courses. We are serving humanity, and that humanity starts with you. You are serving yourself, you are serving the community, and you are serving God. Let us appreciate that these are unique people that the community perceives differently. So if touch someone's life with that condition, I assure you, you will not only have people's prayers and blessings, but indeed, even the Almighty God will be much pleased with you. Conclusively, Flavia, we are truly grateful And of course, she talked about how best you could assist yourself. I know you are getting the best attention, but don't ever encourage yourself to have too much stress. Don't ever encourage yourself to have too much stress. When things are not working out well to you, you are not alone. You should get someone closer to you to talk to, or even when necessary to take medication. Of course, when you talk about medication, not meaning pills for mental problem. Even it could be just a paracetamol, it could be Panadol, it could be amoxicillin. So get always your health attended to, get always your physical health, your mental health, everything, attend to it. I assure you, you'll live a better life. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Rajab. Paul, thank you for coming back. This question is going to go to you from Bukenya Idrisa Chimbwe. He says, when I was still in high school, I made wrong choices that led me to steal, and one time I was caught, and the community almost stealed me in a mob justice. I was saved by the police and was booked by law and locked up for my crimes, but after suffered from PTSD, which made me very violent and suicidal. Am I mentally unstable? Paul, I can respond to Chimbwe.
Well, thank you so much. Before you say that someone is mentally unstable, you need to assess that person. So for me to say whether he is mentally unstable or not, Chimbugwe need to be properly assessed. Based in, he might be even tagging himself that he suffered post-traumatic stress disorder. Because if he really suffered that, indeed he should have gone for some treatment, because it is a condition that as well requires a thorough and very critical mental health treatment medically, to first of all help you stabilize mentally, and now psychotherapy comes to play. So I would not really say yes or no to that question, but I can imagine what he went through. One thing that I can say from his statement on his submission is that people in the force actually are supposed to be properly educated. There are people that are not supposed to be taken to prison. There is no one that commits a crime without having some, forces around them. That is what we call sociopath. That thing before I commit a crime, it did not begin that day. I did not wake up and steal. I started suffering long time ago. And that is what people in the force should look at. Sometimes because of some people that we handle in the government, we go to the prisons and we share with them. We give them some of these informations. Most of the people who are in the prisons today are supposed to be taken to mental health rehabilitation center. I agree with them when they say that prison is also a rehabilitation center, but then the treatments are not holistic. The treatments are not complete. That is what I mean. When they are taken to a rehabilitation center not labeled prison, they get more help. Yes, you can keep them there for a while, but don't let them go back to the community without referring them to a proper holistic rehabilitative centers that can properly put them in order. Otherwise, they will go back and they will become a hardcore criminals. They will commit more crimes in the societies. I wish they follow them up and they would know what happens. So they suffer. They also live when they have traumas, which if they don't also take care of them, they will continue to commit more crime. So this gentleman must have suffered, but he started suffering socially. Sociopath. So we call them sociopaths. Suffering socially. There was no food probably. They were bad friends. He was not socializing with people, which should have been, managed from the social level. And that problem continued without it being managed. He went into the psychological suffering, the psychopath. And before you know it, he was not able to reason appropriately that if I steal, police may arrest me, I may be taken to prison. So the mind wasn't working well. So he was actually suffering psychologically. So that gentleman should have been taken to a psychologist first, probably a psychiatrist also, and the team would have managed this gentleman, or even to a counselor. But then, okay, they have some counselors in the prisons, but then that is not enough, because even the training they go through when they're inside there, I call it training. That reformation, that is what we call apparent conditioning. In most cases, punishment doesn't help. You make the situation worse. The person comes out with a lot of resentment. Yet, the person would have been helped in a more appropriate way. I think that is what I can add there. Sorry, I got some technical problem before that made me to cut out a little bit. Thank God Rajab came in and completed the submission. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much to Flavia, who was our main act today. Thank you very much, Rajab and Paul, for the professional submissions. I thank you very much for showing up today. So we are coming to the close of today's show, and at this juncture, I request you to give your parting shots as we close. So, like we started, let me give Flavia a chance because she has been quiet for some good time. So let her speak first as she, gives her parting shots, and then Paul, you come next, and then Rajab next, and then we can close the show. Flavia, please.
Okay, thank you so much, Claire. Thank you for inviting me to participate in this. Actually, each time I interact with professionals and I interact with people about my mom's condition, I strongly get a feeling that maybe we should start a caregivers club of sorts. These things happen in other illnesses like HIV. They have caregivers, clubs that help each other to cope, people with like problems. But again, what I would tell somebody who is having a parent, who is having a daughter, a husband, somebody close to them, not to lose hope. There is care. Even as much as we say that the doctors are only 52 for the population, that doctor will attend to you if for them. They have a responsibility. They took that oath to take care of humanity. I think even as the statistics as they are, we can still find the little care that is there. Even in Butabika, yesterday I was on the news and I heard that they were saying Dr. Naku, the executive director, says most of the patients there are abandoned by their caregivers. Somebody reaches a point and say, I'm not moving on with this. I understand, because really it can take a mental toll on you, like they say. But you can move, you can fight it. You have to know that it's a fight. Life is itself a fight. So people have to encourage each other. If you want to talk to our friend, talk to our friend. If you want to talk to me as a fellow caregiver, there are people who are listening who might have relatives like me. They might be taking care of people like me. Give me a call at any time. I'll speak to you. I wrote a chapter recently. I should interest people into buying that book. It has a chapter where I speak to a psychiatrist. This psychiatrist, as much as he's a psychiatrist, his mother also had a mental illness, and his mother was also a traditional
Well, I think Flavia has got some issues. So, Rajab, kindly give your closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Claire, my colleague Paul, and our guest, more of our guest Flavia. I thank you all. In a special way, I thank the audience that we have had today. We are indeed very grateful. Wherever we bring such platforms, then you get to know that people are listening. We believe that sensitization is being done. So, to those that have been online tonight or today, disseminate this information. Let it not only end to you. Disseminate it to maybe the colleague, to the neighbor, to wherever. such that we see how best we can assist each other. I'll conclude by saying, in whichever that we go through, let us not forget that there is someone that is taking care of us. That is God. Whether you are sick, whether you don't have what to eat, whether this and this, remember, God is in charge of whichever that is happening to you. So I encourage you, in whichever that we are doing, let's do it appropriately, but then let us not forget God. Because as of course we have interacted, we have realized that as we are talking, we are zeroing everything to God, that maybe we should pray to God. Maybe so. Those that are having mental problems, those that are having any stressors and so on and so forth, let us not forget that aspect of God. And also, let us not forget to consult our professional people. We assure you, we are available. We are available to support each other. We are available to ensure that we become a better community. We become a better community that is willing to not only support ourselves, but even to support those spotted individuals that could be having mental health related problems. So thank you very much once again, Claire, for hosting us. And indeed, it has been a pleasure being hosted here. And of course, I believe our communication will have an impact, even when it will be very minimal or very negligible, but still it remains an impact. Thank you so much. Have a blessed evening.
Okay, thank you very much. Paul, you're next. Can you give your parting shots as we end today's show?
Claire, thank you so much for inviting me for this show. And thank you, Rajab and Flavia, for your sharing, your contributions. I believe I've learned a lot from everyone. And I would conclude by saying that mental health conditions can be treated. Mental health conditions can be properly managed. I will also add by saying that there is hope. No matter what you are going through, just know that you are not alone. Come consult professionals. We are readily available to listen to you. For example, come to Care First. And I want to say this, Butabika is not the only mental health institution in Uganda. There are many private institutions. Flavia finally took her mother to Lakeside. Care First Recovery Homes Uganda is also located in Entebbe. The professionals, certified professionals, are 24 hours there to listen to you. For the listeners, check this on website. You get the numbers to call, and you will always talk to someone. Not only that, I want to also echo that, which I've said before, you are not alone. This can be properly managed. It is not yet late. Come through, consult, and you get the best help that you need. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you for inviting me once again. Have a good evening to all of you.
Okay, thank you very much, all of you. I don't know how much I can thank you. Maybe if I had a bottle of soda, I would have, given to each one of you to have a sip. I appreciate, like, this session has, of course, we have had issues since we began preparing it, but I'm very much grateful. Today, the issues were there, but they were very minimal, and the show was able, to go forward. Paul, I thank you very much for, making it happen. As well as Flavia, thank you so much. I don't know if you have anything to give us, maybe as we got off as you're giving your closing remarks. I don't know if something had remained. You could probably give it to us, and then we could end here.
Okay, thank you so much, Claire. I hope you're getting me.
Yeah.
Really, what I would say is to thank the professionals who were on the show today. I have learned something from you. You have given us more courage. I know other people are listening in and they are in a situation that I am in. Each time I speak to a professional, be it a counselor, be it a nurse, be it I get more courage. I get to know that, me, I might be having a person who has bipolar. There are people who have cancer that is continuous. There are very, very many complications that people are dealing with. It's very important that we have a social network. I'm going to add you, if you allow me, on my social network list. That will be very helpful. And also, I'm requesting Claire, if at all anybody who has been listening in wants to get in touch with me for really peer-to-peer knowledge sharing as lay people, I'll be so interested in helping, or I'll learn something from them too. Thank you so much, Claire, for the time. Thank you for hosting me on the show.
Okay, I very much appreciate, and also, yes, please add us the social network. We love socializing. Like we said earlier on, I and Rajab and Paul are going out. Maybe you could join. Maybe you could join in, since Paul did not have someone. Maybe you could join in, and we're gonna socialize. I very much appreciate all of you for being here today, and we shall see what happens next time. Maybe I can also have you on the show to discuss a different topic altogether. So from me and the Black Mental Health Matters community, would like to wish you a good night.